back to the Sad Dad Games podcast. I'm Shan.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Emily.
Well, we're jumping into Act 2 of Resident Evil 4, the remake. And it's the castle. El Castello. I think that's how you would say it. El Castello? Castillo. Sorry, I'm mixing up Portuguese and
Eric
Spanish, and I've just made a completely stupid
I was going to
word.
say, do you want me to jump in the middle of your intro and say something about it? Or
Yeah.
Shan gave me a hard time in one of our actually, it might not have aired yet because sometimes we record indie episodes out of sync, but Shan was giving me a hard time about interrupting his intros.
Yeah.
And you're so good at pronouncing things.
Yes,
no,
and
in Portuguese it's O Castillo or Castillo.
That sounds right. Sure.
Yeah. And in Portuguese, Spanish would be El Castillo. El Castillo. Who cares?
That's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah.
I just want to point out, Shan's not just being pretentious. He actually knows Portuguese.
Yeah, but this is the exact problem, is like having learned Portuguese and then learning Spanish. Everybody's like, what the hell are you saying? Because I'm like conflating the two languages when the words are too similar. So yeah, Castillo. Okay, Castillo is castle.
I will say though,
El Castillo.
Yeah, so Shan's
Castillo. Castillo.
Okay.
Oh my gosh! See, this is the problem.
Did you get there? Like,
we need to start over.
Yeah, I'll be quiet, and Shan's going to try another 10 or 20 pronunciations.
Should we? You could probably cut half of this out, and it would still be funny. El Castillo.
Perfect.
I'll
bravo.
take your word for it.
Yeah. I don't even remember what I was going to say. I got distracted by Shan's many pronunciations of castle in other languages.
Such a dipshit.
Yeah. So anyways, we're at the castle. Yeah.
Welcome to the castle.
Welcome,
just speaking
children.
English like a normal idiot. Okay.
I like at the beginning of this part when you're walking in, you get on the walkie-talkie with is it Luis? And they're like, he asks you what you're doing, and it's like Leon's like, well, I wanted to leave, but Ashley just had to see this castle. I promised her we'd check it out, or something like that. Just another snarky one-liner from Leon. I can never get enough of it.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah, but she just had to see this castle. I think that's what he says.
Yeah, in the run-up to this castle, in the remake, they did not have the truck chase you down the road. They just took that out, and I thought that was dumb because it's so unnecessary that they threw it in there. But they did have they didn't even have the village people chase you up to the castles. They took that out too, I think.
It's that you fight them off in the house, and then I think I'm having a hard time remembering exactly what bridges it though. And then I think that you go through like a secret passageway with Luis, and then you just kind of go to the castle and you pull up the drawbridge. But yeah, in the original one, you like get by the skin of your teeth, I think, and then this one, it's like you separate from that situation and then you go to the castle.
All right, so then Luis gets on the phone, the video phone. I don't know what you would call this, and he says he has medicine to suppress the parasite. So you enter the castle. You see another ritual. This one makes a person's head explode. And this guy can climb on the ceiling. I love that they added this to this remake because they couldn't do this in the original. So now this version of this phase of the parasite where the parasite, the plaga, can reach its head over and just like suck your head off of your body.
Yeah, those things are the worst. It's just like a giant... It looks kind of like in Stranger Things, like a Demogorgon face, like where it just kind of opens up and it's just teeth and it can chomp you in half.
Yeah,
it's a bad time.
But they can also climb on the ceiling. I love that they did this.
I forgot they could climb on the ceiling. I don't know if I've experienced that this time around.
Mm-hmm. But it's only if they have a ceiling that's within close proximity, and this first one can do that. So
too fast.
And I think every time that they introduce. Well, no, because the third phase we see it's in this same section. They introduce it through like a typical horror scene where you see it skedaddling.
Oh, the bug things.
Yeah. But we'll get to that.
I would say this is not as horrifying as Silent Hill 2 when you get to the hotel and the monsters can climb on the ceiling. That was way more horrifying than this.
The leggy monsters.
Leggy,
and they start jumping like spiders, and they're just... Especially... Oh, no, not when you get to the hotel. They're also in the prison. That's when you first see them. And the prison has walls that are so high And the lighting is terribly low that you can't see them. You can just hear them. Ugh.
Yeah, for some reason it's there's a prison that's 1 minute underground. You run for, like, I timed it. It's literally 1 exact minute of pure running underground, and then they had the audacity to like dig these high ceilings in this prison so that these leggy monsters can just like crawl everywhere with light that there's not enough light in the prison for you to see them. And the sound design is incredible in this game. So you just hear these little tappies everywhere. And also with these prison bars, like you're constantly running around this prison with these bars, so you can see these leggy monsters just like tap 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 all around your peripheral. It's a well-designed area, very fantastic. Anyway, Eric hasn't played it, so we can't get too into it.
I have not. No, it's on my list. But I just got my Switch 2 yesterday, as of time of recording, and so I'm going to be busy with that for a while. So it just got knocked down a little farther on my list. Right. I'll get to it when I'm like 40 or 50 years old.
All right. So after this, you get to the remade catapult and cannon section. It's a lot more bombastic. They've added blue medallions so that they can distract you as you're running around. The cannon is dynamic. You can aim it in all directions, so that you can aim it at, the trebuchets. That's amazing, and you can aim it at enemies. That is really cool. But there's a lot more, labyrinthine areas that you have to run around with Ashley while people are attacking you from all directions.
Yeah, I always really liked this part in both the original and the remake. I think it's a great time. And again, for context, this playthrough I'm playing the remake in VR, and the first time I played through the remake was just standard. But it just little touches in VR where you go up to the cannon and you grab it and you like move it up and down and point it side to side by like going like this. I don't know why stuff like that is so fun in VR, where you're like, I can move it with my real hands, but it's just like. It's just super satisfying, and because you can be quicker too, where there's like an enemy and you're like, oh, he's right there, blam, and so I really enjoyed this part in VR. It was like, it felt with the explosions from the ballistas happening around you, and like all of the sound design of the swarms of enemies coming all around you and being in VR was just a really tense and cool experience.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna bring up my niece a few times throughout this episode, especially because it was really fun. I've played this game, and then just about 2 months ago she played this game, and she's only about 15 and she's new to horror games, so it was a fun time. But this part, she kept getting lost, and I'm like trying to direct her around, and it's just a confusing time. But as she was like actively getting shot at and attacked, and it was just super chaotic, she kept trying to shoot these blue medallions, and I just kept yelling at her. I'm like, you don't need to do them. Like, you can wait until after this section is done.
Clear out the bad guys.
Clear out the bad guys first, always. And she just kept trying to prioritize these blue medallions. And there was one point where there's this blue medallion, I mean, clear off the cliff, off into the distance. You could barely see it. And she saw it, and she's like, I want that. And she just whipped out her gun and just did this incredible hip shot where she didn't even really try to aim. She just whipped it out, and it was a basic handgun. It didn't even have a scope. And she shot this medallion from super far away as she was actively being attacked. And then she just put her gun away and just kept running. And I was so impressed. I mean, I think it was more of an accident than anything, but it was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. All skill, until you hear about another story later, then you'll be like, what a dum-dum. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll go on.
No, of all the things that are more fun or are easier in VR, the super far medallions in VR are super annoying
because it's your own human hands. Yeah, and it's if you're shaking just a little bit. And the scopes aren't quite as effective in VR as they are in the game because they require the stability of your imperfect, untrained human hands. And you're just a little too shaky.
Yeah. Everybody knows that the rifle in VR becomes a handgun.
Yeah. It's just a handgun with a lot of kickback. Yeah.
All right, so right after this, you run into Ramon Salazar for the first time. I guess since you're in Spain, I think you say Salazar. Ramon Salazar. No, that'd be stupid.
I think they call him Salazar in the game. I don't know what the technical correct way would be, but I'm pretty sure they refer to him as Salazar.
Yeah, it depends if it's like Castellan or whatever Spanish is. Doesn't matter.
Well,
I'm not going to get into this situation again.
Shan, you have to do your imitation of him.
Mr. Gen. That's the original, Mr. Kennedy. But they changed it in this one. I can't do his accent in this game because I haven't heard it enough.
If I practiced, I might be able to. I am medium okay at some accents, but I'd have to like really listen to it. But I do like in the remake the subtle changes because it sounds similar enough for you to feel nostalgic for the original, but they kind of took some creative liberties and took a little bit of a spin on it. I will say though that in the remake I deeply miss his silly George Washington hat. I miss it a lot. I wish that the his powdered wig is a great touch, yeah. But I miss I think the tri-point hat. It was a classic look, and I wish it was still there in the remake.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. He also in the remake, like it seems like his redesign was supposed to be a lot more informed by story. So there was a lot more implicit storytelling by how they redesigned him. He looks more like a meat puppet that's been stuffed back into a human suit.
Yeah,
sort of like what's his face in Men in Black?
Water with sugar.
Yeah, exactly. He's in Daredevil. I'm spacing
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, D'Onofrio. Yeah. So I think that's what they're going for. He looks like he's put on a powdered wig. It looks like he's put on makeup, and after you kill him at the end of this act, you get lip rouge as your reward. So it looks like he's putting on makeup in order to.
He's got to look pretty. He's got to look pretty for Leon.
Oh, so pretty.
Yeah.
So pretty and witty and gay. I think.
How that song any girl who isn't me today. La, 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 la. I better stop or we'll get copyright striked because that was spot on. Yeah.
The algos will come for us.
Yeah.
I like that when they're focusing on Ramon, they kept him in, like, they used a soft focus so that Verdugo and U3, you could only see their glowing eyes. It looked more menacing, but it also allowed you to feel more threatened by their looming presence, but you weren't also aware of what they were or what they looked like. So
just
it left
to clarify,
more to the imagination.
I forget their names. Those are his like two right-hand guys, right? Verdugo
his
and
right
Verdrigue.
And his left-hand guys, yeah.
What, your left hand comes off?
Your right hand comes off?
Oh, yeah, your right hand. Another classic line from Leon. Yeah.
It's so great. We'll get into Verdugo later. They added story for how he became Verdugo.
Yeah. If you read like the little little documents and stuff that you find around. Yeah.
It's easy to forget. I always pick up the documents when I play the game, and then I forget it about 2 minutes later because the story is so shallow.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Oh, if we can backpedal a little bit. I hinted at this earlier. I want to say that I hinted in the previous episode that I had a big beef with a very large plot hole in the plot of Resident Evil that the remake actually rectified. So if you'd be interested to know that. So one of my big things with the original is in the original game, you're playing through the game, you get to the church, and that's the first time you meet Lord Sadler, like the big bad of the game. And in that church, he tells you his whole plan, and his whole plan is they're going to infect Ashley, possibly Leon, and then send Ashley / maybe Leon back to the White House, and she'll be like, their incel on the inside to infect the president, maybe, I'm not sure, do something. But their goal is to let Ashley get infected and then send her back to America. And if that was their goal, why didn't like Leon was there to get Ashley and then take her back to America. But they, like, Sadler is hell-bent on stopping Leon at every turn. If that was his goal, he shouldn't have explained his evil plan. He should have just, like, pretended to lose and let Leon take Ashley home at that, like 1/3 of the way through the game when you first meet him in the church. He should have just like, oh, darn it, you got her. See you later. And then twiddled his thumbs and said, I got you. But, like, he just, like seconds after he says that he wants her to go back to the White House, like, bad guys with crossbows jump out and try to shoot Ashley with fire arrows. Like, doesn't,
well,
what is his plan? It makes no sense.
I've only played the remake. How did they rectify that?
So the way that I was able to reconcile it this time is they're trying to get a hold of Ashley, and then once a little bit of a, not spoilers, but later in this act of the game, they do get their hands on Ashley, and they have to perform another ceremony. So in the remake, it's hinted that they have not finished the process of turning her into whatever they need to turn her into, and that's why they can't let her go yet. But they don't establish that at all in the original one. They've already infected her. They've already infected Leon. They should just let Leon rescue her and go home. that would have accomplished all of Sadler's goals. So I always thought that was kind of funny. And it almost, if anything, it kind of makes it like more fun and campy and stupid that it's like the villain is just clearly working against himself in this like B movie plot. So they did make efforts in the remake to kind of patch that up and make it make a little bit more sense. But I always kind of liked the ridiculous charm of the original Sadler, who's just a straight up idiot. Like,
don't you dare badmouth Resident Evil 4. All of that was accurate.
So Shan, you've played Resident Evil 4 way too many times. What is it about this game that you actually are obsessed with? Because like he keeps saying, it's kind of a B-rated film almost, or game. Yeah, it's the story is not amazing, but it's still an amazing game to play. So I just want to talk about that for a second.
Yeah, it's the addictive gameplay loop, and it's the pacing. So it's every scope of the gameplay loop, as at the smallest level to the largest level, is absolutely perfect, such that I can play this for 5 minutes to I can play this from beginning to end, and I never feel mentally fatigued because the pacing is that perfected and the gameplay loop is that much fun. The replayability is perfected. Playing for the first time is thrilling. It's dark. It's horrific, and then playing in God mode is exciting, thrilling, bombastic, and then every iteration of enhancing your God mode just gets that much more thrilling. And so just every layer of playing this game and the pacing throughout the game just like repeats on itself, such that this game is hard or near impossible to stop playing. It never gets boring.
Yeah, I second pretty much all of that, but I do want to say I've been dogging on the story and kind of poking fun and poking holes in it, and what I do really love the story though. I think it's a really great blend of self-aware, ridiculous camp and some more serious moments. And I think that it comes down to earnestness. The story is kind of silly and doesn't make a lot of sense. It has a lot of little plot holes in it and is kind of goofy in a lot of moments, but it's done with this like intentional earnestness that makes you look at it and go kind of like, oh, like I don't know exactly how to describe that feeling, but it's this nice balance of kind of like campy goofiness and seriousness. But because it's being so earnest, you don't mind that the dialogue is a little silly and that the story doesn't make perfect sense, because you know that that's what they were trying to do. They wanted to engage you in this experience by being over the top, by being a little bit ridiculous. And it's this like classic flavor that really only Resident Evil can hit in quite the way that it does.
Yeah, and I believe I heard that Shinji Mikami, the original director for like all these original Resident Evil games, who then spun off to form Tango Gameworks, the studio that got closed down infamously, that did The Evil Within and did that other game that just did fantastically. What was that game that, Eric, do you know what game
was
I'm
it?
talking about?
Ghostwire Tokyo? Is that what you're talking about?
No.
Didn't he do that? Wasn't that Shinji Mikami?
That might have been him. Hi-Fi Rush.
He did a game for like the 360 called Damnation.
Yeah, he did Ghostwire Tokyo. Yeah. But yes, I was thinking of Hi-Fi Rush because that one blew up.
Oh yes, Hi-Fi Rush. Oh, I didn't know that was Shinji Mikami. I had no idea.
It was at least his studio. I don't remember
okay, cool.
how much he was involved in that. But, I don't know where he's at now. But that's his legacy. He's just he's an incredible creator. But apparently he had like 2 weeks to write this script for Resident Evil 4.
That tracks, yeah.
And so he said he had a lot of regrets for like the direction it took, but he just kind of like went on a bender and just like went crazy with it. Well, and it came together spectacularly.
But, I mean, and that's what it is it's kind of ridiculous, but the script owns it in a self-aware way that's just kind of like, yeah, we get that this is crazy, but don't you love exploding heads of bad guys? Like, yeah. And then you just kind of like, I do love that. This is great. Like,
yeah. And it's just a love letter to like all the best horror movies and a bunch of random stuff that you've never heard of. Like I said, like I just watched the movie Dagon between this episode and the last one, and it's just like this little Spanish island where there's a religious cult that they pray and love this like a water demon god because he gives them fish. And so they throw out Jesus and religion and they start praying to this. And so it's a Lovecraft Cthulhu nonsense. And it's a terrible movie. The protagonist sucks. It's a dude with a problem genre. But the protagonist is completely unlikable and stupid. However, they absolutely nailed the fun of a bunch of Spanish people running around chanting nonsense to try to find, to weed out this protagonist and doing occult religious nonsense. And so he just saw that and they're like, well, what if that was actually done well? And so they took that and used it as a foundation for Resident Evil 4, and it breathed new life into it. And it's fantastic.
To which we say kudos. Excellent job.
But the movie
genuinely
sucks.
One of the best games ever made. Resident Evil 4.
The end of Dagon, like this guy's girlfriend ends up this Spanish cult end up like stripping her naked, dipping her down for the water god, this fish god to eat whole, and they're all like wearing other people's...
The fish god eating clothes. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. This cult just like are wearing other people's skin as their faces, and they're all chanting, and this protagonist comes in and lights them all on fire. And then this like tentacled princess comes in
and then he says, where's everybody? Bingo?
Yeah, this tentacled princess comes in and is like, no, stop. By the way, I'm your sister and love me. And the reason you are having visions is because I'm your sister and you're the son of the king and you're supposed to love me. And so he ends up like pouring gasoline on himself and lighting himself on fire. And she grabs him and throws him in the water so that he doesn't die. And then he realizes that he doesn't want to die, and they swim off into like a Dagon's palace. I don't know why he changes his mind. I'd still kill myself.
Everything that you just said sounds made up.
I only loosely understood about 25% of what just came out of your mouth.
It just sounded like he was word vomiting, and it sounded like you were making it up as you went along. That doesn't sound like the actual plot of... But did you say this is a movie?
And then this guy, and that guy, and then this guy.
This is a Lovecraft noveletta, or is that the word, noveletta? Novella, sorry. Novella that got made into a movie. And it's a terrible movie, but they use it as the foundation for Resident Evil, or at least the village part. Anyway, wasted way too much time on that. But I just want you to know that that's the direct inspiration, and we got something so much better.
Cool. Okay, so where were we? Because
We
we
were
went
at
off on a
the-
couple tangents there.
Yeah, so we met
All of
Ramon
us.
Salazar, and
Yes.
after this, you're in the antechamber, I believe, and so you run around. You end up discovering torture chambers. It's a lot more staged. It's dark. It sets the tone perfectly, so that you're in this creepy state of mind right before they drop you down to meet agarrador. The word translated means the clawer, I believe.
Mr. Eyeballs sewn shut with the Wolverine claws. Very scary. These guys straight up gave me nightmares in the original version. They were very scary to me.
Yes. And so this is a pretty different approach. It wasn't a torture chamber in the original, but in this one, but in the original, you had to walk down into the chamber and then like break into his prison to take a key or whatever. And then
you had to like
out.
coax him out to get the key that he was on and then try to like escape with the key, right?
Yeah, but he was locked up because they understood his threat. So they did keep that in, and then he breaks out. So that was good. But yeah, so this falling down, it allows them to show that his eyes are sewn shut so that you know to stay quiet. But then they put a bunch of danglies around so that you end up provoking him and he chases after you. But there's a lot more to, because they added stealth to this game. There's a lot more to hide around. It's harder to kill him. It takes a lot more shots. So it's a lot more dynamic fight. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that stealth is an option when playing in VR. I don't know why that, like, it's just a less, it's just not on my top of mind. Like when I was just playing the game with a standard controller, it really was, you're like, oh, I can sneak up and I'll try to like weaken this enemy or kill a couple enemies before they notice me. But then in VR, I just forget and I'm like, pistol in this hand, shotgun in this hand, who wants to die? Like, I just kicking the door and shooting everybody.
Mm-hmm. All right, so after this, Ramon tells you he's prepared some entertainment, and it's my least favorite room, I believe, in the original, where they just throw a throng of enemies at you.
So many.
It's a full
way
frontal
too many.
assault, and there's nowhere to like hide to put a wall behind you. Like, they're just coming at you from all directions. In the original game, it is very hard to turn quickly. So when you're facing one direction to take everybody out, they will always attack you from the other side before you can turn.
You can do a quick 180 turn in the original, but it's like if someone's at 90 degrees, that doesn't help you at all. And so, the
everything's at 90 degrees in this area.
Yeah, in that area. And the turning is like really slow. And so in the original, this area sucks. It is a bad time.
But I realized that like in this remake, they put those ink fountains up in this redesign. And I realized that that's because it prevents like the line of sight from like people shooting arrows and stuff. So it allows you to dynamically run around this area and find cover while having the same generally designed room.
Yeah, it kind of sections off. Instead of it being one giant area where everything can see you and come at you and kill you, it kind of sections it off into these like sort of micro arenas that are interconnected, where it's like you're facing off against like 5 people here, but then there's some like 3 more of them in the corner that can't really see you. But then when you loop around the corner, then they're there and then you have to deal with them. And it takes what was one big, really tense encounter and chunks it up into like 4 or 5 smaller, still very tense, but more manageable encounters that it just seemed more smartly designed.
Yeah. Also, I didn't understand up until preparing for this what the ink actually was. It just felt like a random addition. But this is the same ink that they give Ashley in the ritual to advance her phase.
It's some kind of like, to advance the plagas.
Yeah. So this is where they store it.
Apparently. They just keep it in the castle, in the water supply. Just pumping it through the castle.
So they keep another awful part from the original where you have to boost Ashley up to turn the wheels, but it's not nearly as awful in this section.
Yeah, I was gonna say I kind of enjoyed it this time around. I mean, it's very tense, but it's a good like because you're down on the floor and she's up on these walkways, and so you can't physically be up there to protect her, so you have to protect her from a distance. So
yeah, and she jumps down on her own, so she's not nearly as helpless.
Yeah, Leon,
help me!
come save me!
Where are you, Leon?
Yep. And then when you go and stand underneath her to try to catch her, she goes, pervert. You look up to see if she's there, and then you accidentally look up her, and she's like, pervert. You're like, all right, Ashley, I'll just leave you up there if you want. Like,
and then when you're like a teenage boy, you look up her skirt on purpose the second time, and then you try to look up her skirt with like a scope on your rifle to see if you can get the perfect angle.
Shan's put a lot of thought into this. Yeah,
I played this game a lot
for different reasons. Yeah.
And there were some angles where it wouldn't trigger that reaction. And look, there's nothing to see. I just want to point out. But when it's 2006 or whatever, and there's nothing else going on in your life, it felt like a thrill, but it wasn't. It was a waste of my life. It was a waste of everyone's life. But I know everybody did it.
I remember like hanging out with some of my like junior high friends and stuff, and just like playing through this game and thinking it was so funny that they like put that in the game, that if you tried to like look up at her from an angle, she'd like, pervert. We just thought that was the funniest like little side joke in a game ever, because we were 14-year-old boys, so it was so funny.
Well, I was not a perverted middle schooler boy. Full of hormones.
Yeah,
I'm not a boy. I only played this game like a year ago, and I'm a full-grown woman. But Fable did that for me as a kid.
Oh, okay, there you go. You had your thing.
You could like woo people in that game.
Yeah, by like,
and I definitely wooed them.
Stuff,
yeah.
Fable was a weird game. We don't have. Well, I'll stop. I really like Fable, but it is undeniably a weird game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good. I'm excited for the new one.
I'm not saying it's not good, but it's weird. Like, it's a weird game. Yeah.
Well, you could woo people and then sleep with them. And that did it for me as a kid.
Look, the internet was a lot more innocent, 20 years ago, and there wasn't a lot of material to work with. So,
and we had one desktop to share with the whole family.
Yeah. So like, this was the material that we had to work with, low poly video games, and so this was truth. This was what we had.
Yeah, this and the Great Fairy.
Mm-hmm. The Great Fairy did nothing for me. If we're
the Great Fairy gives people nightmares. If anything, it makes it worse.
Yeah, the Great Fairy made me question if I were asexual for a while.
Yeah.
Oh.
All the Great Fairies did for me was make me look over my shoulder to make sure my parents weren't in it. Because it's like, again, nothing explicitly inappropriate about the Great Fairies from Ocarina of Time, but it's never a good look when your parents walk into the room and the Great Fairy pops out and goes, oh, and then like spreads her arms out. It's like, do you want my gift? And you're like, Mom, it's not what it looks like.
I'm looking over my shoulder right now. Yeah. I'm looking over my shoulder right now, like, Eric, don't do that. My parents might be around.
It was always uncomfortable, just never a good time. Yeah.
All right. After this section, Ashley becomes possessed, holds a knife to her own throat, and after attempting to stab Leon, she backs behind a gate. She becomes scared and she runs away. I love this edition because it increases the stakes of the story. I was very surprised when this happened the first time while playing the remake. I was like, oh, they took this in a completely different direction. I was thrilled to be surprised playing my favorite game.
Yeah, this is another perfect example of how the remake kind of stays true to the source material, but then changes things up in some other key ways. And it makes it feel like you're playing this game, the original, again for the first time. So I agree. This part is awesome. I think that the acting is done very well here. I really like how Ashley acts visibly very upset. And I think her delivery of this part is one of the more heartfelt moments of the game. in a game that's mostly very campy. She does a great job with this part, and I like this addition a lot. It's a good way to separate these two characters organically and up the stakes at the same time.
Yeah, I love this actress. She's after this scene and her scene following up with this, where she's scared and just like all of
when
her
you're
authentic,
playing as her.
No, when you run into her, when you find her after this section,
Yes. Yeah.
just like all of her innocent, raw moments where she's terrified and she feels like her world is collapsing. It just feels like the acting is very real, and it made this voice actress feel like it's one of my favorites so far that I've encountered in a game.
Yeah, and in the original game, it's very easy to just like Ashley is a MacGuffin. You're just there to save the president's daughter. I don't really care about her. It's just like she is a device to move the plot forward.
Yeah,
She's a literal plot device. And it's just like, and then in this game, you realize that like, oh, she's like a scared girl. Like she got taken from her home. She's in a terrifying situation. And the direction and the script and the actress really convey this point of like, she's terrified and she just wants to go home. Like it's very well done. I really like it.
Yeah. All right. Plus, like in the original, the ways that she disappears conveniently in the story is like she gets scared, she runs across a couple booby traps, and she gets caught by some trap on the wall that shouldn't be there.
It like springs out metal arms and then grabs her, and then like Scooby-Doo wall turns her around, and then she's like, and then she's gone, and then Leon or Ashley, Leon, Ashley.
Yeah. Is this not better? And also a Novice like carrying her away. Like this is better.
Yeah. No, it's great. And I also like this is the part in the garden. The garden is probably my least favorite part from the original game. And I disliked it because it's so well designed and so scary. And so it's a very well designed part of the game. It's extremely effective. And for that reason, I couldn't stay. It was too scary. I hated the dogs in the original game. Like whenever I'd play the original game, this was the part I got to where I was like, I can't do this again. Maybe I should just stop playing. Like it never got easier for me, this part.
Yeah. That's not where we're at in the remake though.
What comes next?
After this, you come across a frozen ritual with an exploded head. I don't know why they're frozen.
My bad. I jumped ahead a little bit.
But it is creepy and it's fantastic. You see a red robe. He has everyone chanting. You start to have your head sear because you're in some latent phases of your plaga advancing. I love that this edition because it increases the stakes for you, and it also causes chaos, and it forces you to focus on killing the red robes instead of just kind of ignoring them.
Well, and from a narrative perspective, it reminds you that you are connected to this, that like this is an imminent threat. It's inside your body. And when he exerts control over the plagas, it affects you as well because you are becoming that. And so it's this, from a story perspective as well, it ups the ante.
Yes. In the original, it's just, oh, you're getting closer, let's suppress it. And it's like, it literally means nothing until you get to a cutscene. In this, it's like, no, it's actively affecting the gameplay. That's cool.
Very cool.
But you get there and the red robe sees you and he just makes everybody's head explode and you're in absolute chaos.
That was another thing. The first time I played this game, I was running around in circles and I was like trying to thin the herd before I got to the red robe because there was just so many people in this room. And every time he chanted, more of their heads would explode and turn into the bitey monsters that could just chomp you in half, basically. Mm-hmm. And I was like, just running around in circles, so tense. And like, what do I do? Like,
yeah. I always forget to drop the chandelier. I've still never done it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because you have to run around to the back and it's hard to get there when the room is full of bad guys. So, yeah.
Okay. After that, you come across Ada. She says it's been 6 years. There's a cliche sexually charged combat scene. Leon wins because he uses a knife. It says that's better for close quarters. Yeah, exactly. Ada says to give up on Ashley, won't reveal who she's working for, says if he walks away, they might meet again and he'll get the greeting that he was looking for this time. So I was curious. I never caught this before. Does this imply that there's a change of motivation from the original game, a rewrite? She's not just working to get the virus, but is she working to get Ashley back to the States? Is she uh, working with Los Illuminados this time?
I don't remember. I'm gonna have to finish the remake again.
I haven't played the DLC yet,
Yeah,
and that would illuminate a lot.
it would Illuminato it.
Yeah, Illuminati.
Los Illuminato.
But it sounds like she's trying to, like, trick him into letting go of Ashley to go back. She's a lost cause.
Yeah, maybe. I could see that. I also wonder if Ada has got some affection for Leon to some degree or another, and it's just like
obviously.
And Ada is very much like a.
But you're gonna need an Asian fetish.
Yeah, well, she's like a look out for your own, like look out for yourself kind of a person. Ada's always been like that, and so I wonder if she's like, you know what, just get out of here because I care about you and I don't care about Ashley. So you don't worry about Ashley, you just leave and get out of here alive. So I wonder if there's a little bit of that to it too.
I gotta say, there is not a single game with Ada that has forced me to care about her. She's not interesting to me.
Yeah, she's just kind of a foil to Leon, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but not like an interesting foil. Like
the corporate espionage lady. Yeah.
Yeah, like her foil to Leon is her not caring foils how much he does care, but like that isn't interesting enough to me. Like she's not bringing out enough of his interesting qualities such that she's well written enough to be the best foil to him. There are more interesting character traits that could be brought out such that they should scrap her and write somebody more interesting. Anyway, that's why
she's never bothered me too much, but I feel similarly that I never was like, Ada is such a great character. She just kind of is part of it, and I never really had a problem with her, but I don't care that much about her.
At least to be so recurring. Like, I think Krauser and Luis are far more interesting foils.
Luis is fantastic, particularly in the remake, and as he really gets his chance to shine in this act of the game where you're in the castle and the mines and everything. I love Luis. I think he's fantastic.
Also, I keep forgetting to mention in the original, no joke, Leon shouts so many times Louis. He never says Louise.
Louis.
and when Luis dies, he just shouts up to the heavens, Louis.
Oh, I love it.
It's infuriating. It's such a disservice to this character. It's like pissing on his grave.
I love that, like, stupid American Leon can't call him Luis. He just is like, he's like, yeah, it's Louis, right? No, it's Luis. Yeah, Louis. That's what I said.
Yeah. Every time he says any Spanish, it's just like with the absolute most gringo accent. It's so funny.
Love it. Louis.
Yeah. Okay, so after this section, you get the first, you get this the stage decapitated body. So they're setting up this the first parasite to be fully autonomous.
I hate these bug guys. By the way,
classic trope. I love how they do this, but they subvert it for the people who love the original because you don't see this coming. So as you're pulling up a bookshelf, you see the parasite jump onto somebody's back and it controls them like a puppet. That's cool. It's chaotic, it's crazy, it's frenetic, and it comes at you. And after you shoot it, it still pops off and comes at you again.
I like the encounters of this enemy a lot in the remake. I love how when they control like a body or another person or whatever, that person instantly becomes like a frantic, just run at you, full tilt monster. Like no inclination for self-preservation. They're just bolting at you basically. And then I love that, once you kill their host, then you still have to kill the bug monster. And they are really hard to deal with in the original game not the original game, in the remake, not in VR, because they move so quickly that it's really hard to get a beat on them. But I found in the remake, they're a lot, or playing in VR, they're a lot easier to deal with because you can just kind of like, boop, there you are. It's so much easier when you can just aim with your hands. Like, it makes such a big difference for some parts of the game.
Mm-hmm. All right, so in the original, there are 4 El Gigantes, or Los Gigantes, I guess. and they've added a fifth here because they've completely redesigned this section where you get to run along the wall of the castillo, and there's a gigante that is adding a lot of tension because he's throwing things at you. He's throwing boulders. This is fantastic. There's a lot of puzzles to break up the pacing of it. So you jumping to some you run into some sections and you solve some puzzles, then you run again while the gigante is throwing things at you. It's just it's a lot of action. It goes on for like 10 minutes. It's a great addition to this game, but we get a fifth gigante.
Yes, I really enjoyed this part of the game for the remake. It's a good another example of them doing new things in certain areas where they felt like they could kind of branch off from the original, so making it feel new and exciting. It's such a fun encounter. It's high tense. It's very tense. It's high action, but it has some good downbeats where you're kind of in between running from the Gigante. So super cool. Really enjoy this part. Agree with everything you said. It's great stuff.
Yeah. Okay, then you find Ashley crying. She only then discovers that you're also infected, so she didn't know up until this point. So then she doesn't feel that she's alone. And Leon just asks for a heads up next time before he gets stabbed. So he plays it off super cool. He's a good guy.
Super suave. Yeah. Leon, the super suave man.
So, yeah, they're on the same page now. All right, then we get to the dog labyrinth.
This part, the dog labyrinth. New band name, I call it.
Redesigned it to have 3 flags that you have to let down. In the original, it was just 2 stone slabs. They did that a lot in the original, and they had it again in the remake a few times. But with 3 levers that you're supposed to let down, it allowed them to approach this section differently, such that there is a time where Ashley has to participate, and that allowed for some cultists to run in and try to grab her, and then you have to frantically jump down and try to protect her. So I love how they approached this redesign to get a lot more dynamicism to this gameplay.
Well, and it's fun because they have these like breaks in the hedges that are like fences, gates. So that you can see gates. Yeah, you can see and shoot through them, but you can't physically cross through them. And so you and Ashley, like a door closes, and then you're kind of on different parts of the maze, and a lot of Los Plagas are coming at her from this direction, and you're over here. And so while she's trying to run towards you, you're trying to run towards her through the maze, while also shooting through these gates when you have you can get a bead on somebody to try to keep these guys from capturing her. Very cool, really fun little extra moment that they had there. So, and it gives a break from the dogs in the maze, which are terrifying and never get easier to deal with.
No, it's easier to feel in control. Like, it's still terrifying in the remake, but it felt like what was terrifying about it wasn't the difficulty of handling the controls. It was just how great the design was. But the original, it's well designed and terrifying, but it's also frustrating because you can't turn fast enough. And so it's both that's frustrating.
Yeah. Also, I don't know why, but every single time I've played the original game, this is the part where I'm basically on my last bullet. Like, I have to knife some of the dogs because it's just, and I'm sure they designed it that way so that this part of the game, you feel very tight on your resources. And I didn't feel that quite as much in the remake, which I was kind of grateful for, because it's good to be tight on resources, but it's not good to have no resources.
Yeah. Okay, then after this, you get to that impractical bridge room where, like, I don't think a castle would build a bridge that goes up and down just to get around. But in the original,
you don't know.
Like, yeah. In the original, it was just like to get from one room to another, and that doesn't make any sense. At least in this, it felt like they redesigned it practically such that it was to get to a part of the room that had treasure that was protected. So if there was ever going to be a reason that a castle would have a bridge that goes up and down, it would be to protect treasure in the castle. So I like that they were being very thoughtful. If they were going to add these things back into the game, it was going to be an informed decision. Then you get to the Plaga Knights in that giant circular room. There's a lot more room to maneuver than the original. The original is very tedious. And since I have played the game so many times, I know to leave Ashley behind, but you can bring her with you if you don't know what the shit you're doing.
Yeah. Stay here. I will be back.
And it brings out 2 waves of 3 knights and very tight quarters. It's very difficult. But here, you tell her to stay behind, and she gets to help you by throwing blue flames that paralyze them. So they understood everything that sucked about the original, and they made it a lot more fun in the remake.
Yeah, I would say, I can't remember. In the original, is there a blue flame paralyzing mechanic? There's not. That's what I thought, but it's been a minute since I played the original. It's been a couple years, so I couldn't remember if that was new or not. But I think it's great because it introduces this as a gameplay mechanic, and then it's something that you use a little bit later on that you remember, like, oh yeah, this does this. And so it was good to introduce it in this context because I think it's just good game design. Yeah.
Well, so I like whenever they do something to empower Ashley, because they understood that Ashley was tedious in the original such that people didn't like her. And so whenever they could empower her so that you could like her more, they would do that. But also this was clever because it introduced you to the blue flame stunning mechanic before you played as Ashley so that you were aware of how it worked. That was clever.
Yeah. I can't wait to talk about the part where we play as Ashley. It's so good.
Yeah. Then you get to the dinner room.
Really quick before we move on, there is one of the best Leon one-liners after he kills all of the knights. Do you remember what he says?
Nighty night nights.
Nighty night nights. And it's like the pause that he does is like nighty night nights, and then you can almost like hear Leon chuckle to himself as he just sits there so pleased with his little joke. And like, I love Leon. I think that if he was a real person, we'd be friends. We'd just be making dad jokes all day long and we'd get along.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I'm kind of a wuss and he's definitely not, so maybe we wouldn't be friends, but I very thoroughly appreciate Leon's sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. All right, so after this, there's a dinner room that has the puzzle where you sit down at 2 different chairs and it opens up to get the snake head. So
I have a bone to pick with this room. I did the puzzle right. I straight up did. I did it right. I had Ashley sit where she was supposed to sit. And then I went around to every other chair and I was like, what is happening? And then I tried the first combination that I did, and then it just worked that time. Sure. But I thought for sure I had done it wrong the first time. And I don't know what exactly happened.
The game is cheating.
The game is cheating. I did some weird little, but I got it right the first time. I know that I sat her down and I did it, and then I did my thing, and then I went and I looked at the pictures and I looked at her and I looked at things. It's like, this is right. Why isn't it working? And so I tried all the other ones thinking I missed something. And then I finally went back and I tried it again, and it was like, oh, you did it. And I was like, yeah, I know I did it. I did it the first time.
It's like I did an escape room a couple months ago, and I kept trying to figure out this one puzzle that was super complicated because you had to read a riddle and put the name plaques underneath these different portraits in a hallway. And I spent way too long on that. And I was like, everyone else go figure out other puzzles. I've got this. And I just kept moving things around. I'm like, no, I think I already had it. And then finally, after I probably spent 15 minutes on this, someone came in and had to reset it because they didn't properly reset the puzzle. And so I did have it right. So that just kind of reminds me of that. But when my niece played this room, she figured it out, and then she walked out of the room. I'm like, wait, what do you think you just did in there? Go back. And she had to go back and pick up the snake statue.
Oh yeah,
thing.
This is definitely a room, and then you just leave.
Yeah, she just solves the puzzle. She's like, okay, moving on. I'm like, no, circle back. You did that for a reason. You realize she's new to puzzles, or she's new to games in general, but this was her first puzzle light game, and so yeah, I was just like, what the? Go back. We have to go back.
No, I glazed over. I didn't even mention it. There was a puzzle earlier in this act where you have to place all the swords in a particular order, and it's a fine puzzle, but in the original You literally, there's just two swords, and you just grab them both, and then you swap them.
Yeah.
That's not a puzzle. That's just not a puzzle.
I did
that's
it.
Just, that's just something that you do.
I feel so smart.
It's not a puzzle. It is an instance. It's just a thing that happens that you participate in.
Yeah. In the original, also, this dinner room does exist, and it's all set similar to the remake. It feels like it was going to be a puzzle, and it maybe got scrapped at the last minute. That's what it feels like, because it's so elaborate to just be nothing.
And
but this is the room.
There.
Yeah, but this is the room where you then just have to scope like a wine glass at a distance, and that's the puzzle.
That's the puzzle.
That's the puzzle. Why is it called puzzles? That's the puzzle.
That's the puzzle.
Yeah. All right. Then after this, you place all of the pieces, and Leon gets trapped, and Ashley runs off. But in the original, the cage comes down, and there's a Garrador and a bunch of monsters that keep jumping in. It's a lot more chaotic, and it doesn't take over for you like it does in the cutscene in the remake. So I didn't enjoy it in the original as much, and so I'm fine that they kind of took over and scripted it in the remake.
This was another part of the game that, like, in the original, this part was really rough for me because of this slow turning, and there's enemies in really close quarters, and you have to fight one of those like eyes shut Wolverine monsters. And
Garrador, yeah.
Garrador, and it's like it was very different. And so I remember playing the remake for the first time, and the cage drops there, and I was like, oh, here it comes, and then it's just the cutscene, and it moves on, and I was like, oh, well, all right.
Yeah. However, they put on the door in the original one of those black bolted locks, so you have to shoot it with a shotgun like 2 or 3 times, so it's a lot harder to get out. So I had to like stun the Garrador with a flash grenade and then shoot it like 3 times and then get out. But also, you can kind of cheese the original, because so there is like a cutscene of the to say like, oh, the cage came down, and now the Garrador is gonna jump down, and if you press start to skip the cutscene, that's still a scripted sequence that plays out, and so the faster that you press start to skip it, you actually have more time to break out.
Another benefit of real-time cutscenes.
Yeah, exactly. And there are a lot of parts in the original where you could do that to gain the benefit of like 2 to 3 extra seconds to navigate a section. Yeah. All right. So, so now you're Ashley, and you're in her section. This is a lot better than the original, because
this part is amazing. Yeah. It's fantastic.
You get low lights. You get bookshelves to block line of sight. You get stealth. You have atmospheric lighting. It's just you get the knights just kind of doing their patrols, and the original, they didn't have the plagas like no, they did. If you shoot them in the head, their helmets would pop off, and then they'd do that thing. But here it's like they can start off that way, just kind of spindling out of
popping out of their armor a little bit.
And so it's a lot more menacing.
Yeah. I really because I like this part, because you just got done being Leon, who is like Mr. Killing Machine power trip. Like, Leon's not, it's still very tense situations, but he's very powerful and capable. And then you go to Ashley, who has no weapons at all, just a lantern. And it just immediately makes you feel very vulnerable and exposed and just cautious about everything. And this is another part where the performance, I feel like, for Ashley's character in this game is just top notch, where you're like running away from these knights, and Ashley is just kind of like screaming, just leave me alone, please, like, as she's like just very well delivered. She's just terrified and over it, and is just trying to get through this. And that was another moment that I just really felt like her character was, it endeared me to Ashley's character rather than having me be annoyed with her, which is all it was in the original game.
Yeah, and you're a lot more empowered with the lantern, so that's cool. But it also, like, they have to get really close to you to be able to freeze them. And so that makes the tension really high. I love that. There's a lot more chasing in this than the original. And the original had, as you remember, quick time events. So you could like insta-die from the knights just like, axing you in the face. That wasn't fun. And you'd get like upskirts every time that they would do that. And
oh, would you?
So the knights would be perverts.
How many times?
How
many times did you die on purpose?
As she's dying, pervert.
Well, and they're like fixed angles, and the fixed angles make you feel like a pervert.
So how was this? Can you explain better how this was in the original? Because you said something about how the blue flames didn't exist, or did I misunderstand that?
Yeah, so you take on Ashley, then there's a section where like there's a couple cultists, and you throw lanterns at them to try to burn them alive. Then you go down to a section with people in armor. They're just kind of frozen in place, and as you walk past them, they start to swing down at you, and you have to do a quick time event, push B and A at the same time, or L and R at the same time. If you miss it, they hit you. You could die instantly. So you descend lower and lower, then you grab a piece of something, and you have to go back up as a bunch of them are chasing you, and there's nothing you can do. You just have to run.
You could see Shan just like staring off into the distance because he was visually
playing
the game, and he was like, and then you do this and then that, and he's just like mentally going through the whole sequence. It's incredible how much you know this game.
There was also a section where like at the end, the puzzle that you play as Ashley is one of those like 3x3 sliding puzzles, and those are always fun for me because I'm really good at them. I'm about as good as you can get.
I'm not good at those, but I enjoy them anyways. Yeah. I feel really smart when I finally solve them. Yeah.
It's like the same solution to all of them.
I really enjoyed this section with Ashley. It's one of the most memorable parts of the whole game for me. And it was very exhilarating because I got lost in this part. So I just kept going up and down the stairs and circling around. I don't know why I couldn't figure out where to go next. And so I was just screaming, and my adrenaline was going crazy, and I just kept trying to avoid these guys. And yeah, eventually I did make it out, but it took far too long. So it was a good part for me.
So you go down an elevator, you get to a hall with knights, and they put a puzzle in there that you have to solve as all of them are coming alive. I realized that this was like stress and the horror come from, and it's really fun. They do it like in like every 30 or 60 minutes in this game, and if you're not thinking about it, it doesn't feel like it's overused. It's just like it's just a staple of the game. Like this is like the Novice. When you see them in their room, you get like 5 waves of them coming at you, and you just have to go to both sides of the room and just pull the levers. Like it's the same thing as this room as you're solving the puzzle and the knights are coming at you. But then you get to the end, you place your lantern, solve a puzzle, and then you have to intentionally run back through the knights as they are wanting to attack you. They've already like frozen in place. They're crossing their swords, and it frames and stages a knight that is kind of going crazy. The lighting is perfect, and you have to run around him. It's creepy. It's amazing. It's just like the horror in this last act of this section as Ashley, as you're trying to ascend all of these levels back to get back to Leon. It's pure terror, and it's all action. It's all go, go, go until the end. It's so cool.
Very, very well done. One of the most memorable parts of the game.
Yeah. And there's, if you know the game, then there's a part with the clock where you have to change the time. If you know it, it's the same time every time you play the game, so you could just remember it and skip it. So that's cool. But it's a different time depending on the difficulty of the game. Also, you can come back here as Leon and get extra treasure by fighting the Merciless Knight. He's golden. He's fast. It's really cool that they added stuff like this. They did this in Resident Evil 8 as well, which is really cool.
just little sprinklings of side content here and there if you want to get some extra gear or some treasure.
Mm-hmm. And then a Red Robe after she finishes, Red Robe comes and takes Ashley away. Or was it the right-hand man? I
think it's the right-hand man. You have a little chat with Salazar, I think, and he tells... Wait, the right-hand man carries Ashley away because this is where you get separated and they go and take her to try to complete the ritual.
Okay, so this is Verdugo. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so then you start seeing the Novice, which translates to the unseen because they can camouflage themselves.
The bugs.
The bugs.
The big buzzy bugs.
These kind of are to look like the bugs from a 1997 movie called Mimic, or maybe to look like the bugs from Starship Troopers, which is a hilarious movie. Have either of you seen it?
I have not.
Oh, gosh. So it has Neil Patrick Harris in it, so I know Emerly's going to light up.
She did. What? A name
you
of
got
that
me.
person I like? Yeah.
I love Neil Patrick Harris.
You son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah. How old is this movie?
1997. It's
so he was a baby.
Yeah, he was a baby. It's based on a book from like the 50s or 60s, and it had like fascist undertones. So when they made it into a movie, they made it into satire to completely undercut like that theme of the book. And they've since made it into a game called Helldivers, but they've rebranded it, so it's not actually Starship Troopers. It's a new thing called.
But
Helldivers.
It basically is. Yeah.
It's literally the same thing, but it's like it's satire about like ultra patriotic ethos nonsense. Chet beating like let's go beat these bugs that are invading our planet, and it's just a bunch of rah nonsense and these like three idealistic young people, and one of them is Neil Patrick Harris is like the intelligent one who kind of goes into what's it called, intel or whatever. He's the smart one. He goes off and he's off screen for a lot of it, and then there's the brawn and then there's a lady, and I don't know. It's a hilarious movie. It's really campy on purpose, but it's just a really fun watch, and its graphics were ahead of its time, so it holds up really well. Anyway,
this is
so
all new to me.
So I feel like the bugs maybe were inspired by that.
I'm sorry, this is the 1997 Mimic?
No, that's maybe what the Novice were inspired by, but it could have also been Starship Troopers.
Oh, I see. Okay, because I was looking at Mimic and I didn't see Neil Patrick Harris, but I do see Norman Reedus well before he took off with
I didn't know
fame.
He was in that one.
Yeah, it's got Josh Brolin, a bunch of other actors
names.
I don't recognize.
Well, it's like a trilogy even, so...
Oh. Yeah, there's some recognizable faces in there.
I should go back and watch stupid movies like that.
Should. And it's Guillermo del Toro, so that's cool.
Oh, good. So they've been working together for a while.
Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, yeah, because you guys are talking about Death
Stranding
Stranding right now.
We just
Or
finished
you just finished that, yeah. Crazy.
All right, so they removed the nest from the castle and they ended up adding it underground. That makes more sense story-wise, that they would be underground.
Same, yeah. And I like though that when you fight the bugs in the castle, that room has a similar structure and vibe to the nest in the original version, so you still kind of like feel like that's happening where it's supposed to, but then you go down underground to the mines and that's where the proper hive is. Yeah. So you kind of get the best of both worlds.
But you can't shoot it with a rocket launcher and make the whole hive drop down and get a bunch of treasure.
Yeah, so not perfect, but yeah.
Yeah, and they took that out in the remake too, and that really bummed me out. But also, I'm just realizing that there's a hole in the ground of that room because they're coming up from the hive.
From the hive, yeah.
Okay, that's obvious now.
Isn't it funny that like different people, like you just notice
it's obvious
different
to
things.
one, yeah.
It's like something's like super obvious, and then like last episode, Shan was talking about how the big cheese enemy, when he kind of rips in half and is jumping around that flaming barn where you fight him, his body is shaped like the Los Plagas. And I had recognized that, but only like the last time I played it, I was like, oh, that looks kind of like this. But the rest, like every other time I played the game, it just kind of evaded me. And so it's just kind of funny, the things that you miss and then the things that other people miss. And that's why it's so nice to come together and talk about it, is because we can fill in each other's gaps. Yeah, I regret how I said that.
No, you don't.
Don't want that.
Everybody likes to be filled.
I heard it as soon as I said it, yeah.
All right, after this, you get to the double Guardadores section. But I realized that, in the remake, they have them chained to the wall, just like when you're in the torture chamber. But they didn't do that in the original. They were just out and about, and they start charging you as soon as they hear. And so I realized that's actually more consistent to, like, from earlier in the game and to the original. It makes sense that anytime they have a Guardador, that they would want to chain them up, because they're awful and they don't want them running around killing things.
Well, because they're just they don't discern between Los Plagas and just whatever. Because if you make a sound and there's other bad guys in between you and the Guardador, they'll just kill everything in between you and them. So you can kind of use them advantageously to help you clean up the room. Mm-hmm. If you are spatially aware and can kind of manipulate them that way. But yeah, they don't play favorites. They just kill whatever. So
yeah. Plus, like the original, this room kind of really sucks because everybody's coming at you right away. It's really small.
Really tight. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like I restarted that section over and over again, just so that I could get my first shot with a rifle directly on one of the Guardadores, a plaga right on his back, so that I'd have an advantage right at the start. Otherwise, it felt like I couldn't beat this level without like getting clawed and being decapitated. I had to have the first shot. Here, with them chained up, it was a great decision to redesign it that way, so that you have like a 30-second window to get an advantage by killing a bunch of cultists. I love that they did that. Plus, this room is a lot more dynamic. They've added halls on the right side as well, so that you can run around everywhere. But because of that, they there's a lot more enemies, more waves, and the Guardadores are harder to kill. So
yeah, and I don't know if this is the case or not, but the smaller enemies just kind of kept coming until I killed the Guardadores. So I don't know if like that was just the amount of time that it took me to do it, or if the smaller enemies keep coming until you finish off the bigger ones.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. Okay, after that you run into Ashley, who has she now has in blood the occult plaga symbol on her face, like the hiker did at the beginning of the game. And they're making her drink the black ink that we saw in the hallway section. And in the close-up, you can see that she's wearing a baby eagle necklace, and they're always calling her baby eagle. Her sickness has accelerated, so you see that pumping through her veins. And Leon is dropped into the depths through a trap hole. Yes.
I love every interaction with Leon and Ramon, because he's just so delightfully squeaky and evil. Mm-hmm. And I just love it. I also like how they have little intercoms all throughout the castle. In the original game, he used to call you up on your phone and you'd have little chats that way. But I like how just at any point he can pop up on the intercom and be like, Mr. Kennedy, come rescue the princess. And you're like, I love it. And so when he just kind of like so smug, like just drops you down this hole and is like, goodbye, Mr. Kennedy. It's just classic. I love it. He's great. He's such a fun, stupid, little ridiculous villain.
Yeah, in the original, he has the listening pipe because he wants to hear you get impaled, and then Leon shoots the listening pipe, and he gets really pissed off. But they took that out here, and that makes sense, so that he doesn't know if he's dead or alive. That's probably better story-wise. Also, I'm just realizing it's good that they took out that Ramon just randomly has access to call up Leon whenever he wants and shoot the shit.
It's like, Mr. Kennedy, how are you doing? Not bad. How are you? Like, it just doesn't. It is a little more on the makes no sense side of things.
I love in the depths that they added the Novice because you were just playing that section. So it makes sense as you're descending that you'll find more and more of them. And before, when you descend to this part, there are no enemies. You just see a bunch of impaled people, and then you run into the, his right-hand man. So it just added, a lot more gameplay at this part. That's cool. All right, so then you get to redesign section. You find out lore-wise, a man named Isidro Uriarte Talavera had injected himself with black liquid to surpass the limitations of man, to serve God, and to execute heretics, which makes him the Verdugo, because Verdugo would translate to executioner. And so they actually just turned it into lore. And also, while he was running all these tests and trying to figure out how to transition to the Verdugo, they had installed these liquid nitrogen showers in the hallways. So it's actually story driven that there's liquid nitrogen instead of just a bunch of, those.
Yeah, because in the original game, it's very much just like you need to be able to do this to defeat this encounter, and so they are here. So it was nice that they contextualized them in the remake.
Yeah, plus I think they're reusable. That's nice.
Yes, that is so nice. You can find the same little loop and get comfortable there. And I think they take a little while before you can use them again. But in the originals, you use them once and then the game just gives you a big old middle finger and says, deal with it.
Yeah. There's too many quick time events in the original. That gets annoying. But otherwise, it plays out pretty similarly. I love that he shatters at the end after you freeze him for the last time, then you blow him up. That's cool. I realized... Oh, go on.
I was going to say, so I found out this time, because in the original one, you can't kill him, right? You just have to run away.
No, I killed him. Yeah, you kill him. I kill him every
maybe
time.
Not. I might be remembering wrong. But so you can just run away, too. You don't have to kill him. You can just run in circles and wait out the clock.
4 minutes.
And then once the elevator gets there, you can just leave. Wait a minute, I could just leave.
I actually took a while for me to realize that you can just wait and leave, because I always took a moment.
That's what I did. I ran in circles. I kept freezing him with the nitrogen stuff, and then when the elevator got there, I just hopped on the elevator and I said, "See you never."
Mm-hmm. So, how do you usually wait, or do you usually kill him?
I think last time I killed him because I remember having the thought, I was like, I can't, because I remember having the thought that was like, oh, I wonder if you could kill him in the original game. I don't remember if you kill him or if you don't, because I remember him either being really tough to kill or he couldn't die. But
he has the jewel for the crown, so I always kill him.
Oh, that's right. So I don't remember exactly, but I do have a vague memory of, I think last time I killed him, and then this time I just bailed because I wanted to see what happened.
They designed it. The sewers look like the Nostromo on Alien.
I haven't seen Alien. What's that word?
The Nostromo is the spaceship.
I'd have to go back and look at the two of them, but
it's not like literal one for one.
Yeah.
But
it's similar vibes. Yeah,
inspired by that.
Yeah, interesting. No, I didn't notice that. I'll have to go look. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's subtle. It's not like they were trying to shove it in your face, but like the narrow corridors and winding hallways and stuff like that. It was a little too uncanny. Okay, so on the elevator, Leon's condition worsens, and he sees a vision of Sadler talking to Krauser. After that, you meet up with Luis. You inject the suppressant. He roleplays as Don Quixote and tells you, he calls you Sancho Panza, which translates to Holy Belly, which I think is a stupid name, but anyway.
It's like Don Quixote's right-hand guy. It's like his squire. Yeah.
Yeah, and he says, let's go rescue Princess Dulcinea. So yeah, Eric, have you read Don Quixote, or you
I
just know the
haven't. I
story?
haven't read it, but I'm familiar with the overarching story. My dad really likes it, but it's like
okay.
a million-page book. But it's the basic gist of it is there's this man called Don Quixote who fancies himself a hero, but he's actually just insane. And so he goes around fighting windmills that he thinks are giants, and he has a squire that I can't remember if it's a real person or if it's an imaginary person. And he's off to save this princess. And he's just got these delusions of grandeur that are all in his head, and he's just a crazy man running around the countryside fighting windmills. And that's Don Quixote. So
yeah. And the saying, the colloquialism is tilting at windmills, which is an idiom for like just being crazy, I guess. You're delusional.
Yeah. So it's funny that Luis would identify with Don Quixote because he's a straight up crazy person.
Yeah, well, he's tongue in cheek, just like self-deprecating, which is delightful.
Yeah,
you know, it makes him more endearing.
Everything makes Luis endearing. He's the best.
Yeah, he is.
Luis.
Leon asks again what his motives are, but then he reveals that he already knows about Umbrella. Luis says that Umbrella is done for, and he's trying to make amends. And all right, so then you have to go get explosives, and they kind of redesigned how this level plays out. I like that whenever something was kind of inconvenient to level design, they're like, well, you're just going to kind of, how we're going to redesign is you're just going to run out and do it, and then you're going to come back to the critical path. And that always felt like
it's like this side area to go off and do the objective, then come back to the critical path.
It's like when you get the gasoline and stuff. Like, yeah, it works. It works just fine. You can skip this area if you have a rocket launcher.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How do you skip this area?
You
by
shoot the
exploding
rocket.
it with instead of the dynamite.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, when I found the dynamite in like the room where you find it, there's like one Los Plagas in there who's guarding it, and I was like kind of at a distance, and I saw it with my rifle. I was like, "Ooh, I'm going to shoot that," and I wasted like 5 bullets, like rifle ammo. I just thought I missed. I was like, what the heck? I want to explode that guy, and I did it again, and did it get in, and then I didn't. It's not until I like went up to kill them up close, and then I realized I was like, oh, I have to pick. I need that. That's for me to take with me and not use to explode bad guys.
Yeah. This is like a momentary challenge downbeat to go back to villagers from the cultists in the castle, and that feels nice after just playing the Verdugo, because you're also going to ramp back up the challenge to go back to Ramon Salazar and to go to the island. So
there is a chainsaw guy down there though, which is those are always add some, but it's nothing you haven't dealt with before.
Yeah, but like again, this is just like a great choice for pacing. You run into Dos Gigantes. In the original, you don't have Luis with you, so this is a big rewrite. Also, it's really
I like it though, because it increases their camaraderie and their teamwork, and it makes you kind of identify with, well, because I think in the original by this point, Luis is, I'm calling him Luis unironically now because in the original, I think Luis is already dead by this point.
He dies right before the Ashley section. He's like, here, look,
castle.
I have the suppressant. And then Sadler comes in and kills him. And he's like, Sadler.
Tentacle stabs him.
Son of a bitch. And then, like, you run past Luis, like, a couple times with Ashley. And he's just, like, on the floor dead.
Excuse me, gotta get by.
Oh, that's so
because,
sad.
like, you have to run past him if you want to go get the broken butterfly by the dog labyrinth.
Yeah.
And so you just do, and you just don't even acknowledge him.
See you later, dude.
So he stays alive longer?
He's
a
alive
complete
for
rewrite.
Several chapters longer in the remake. He dies a lot sooner in the... I like so much so that the first time I was playing through the remake, I thought that maybe they were going to keep him alive.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, so it's like the dog.
They gave me the gut punch because it was this character that in the original game that I thought was kind of fun, but I didn't like. I wasn't like, oh, he died. Oh no. But then in the remake, they give you more time with him. They let you really care about him, and then they get you to think like, well, maybe they changed it so that he doesn't die, and then they kill him right in front of you.
Yeah,
it's so disappointing. He's so charismatic.
And like, I wouldn't say that he necessarily arcs in that he changes character during the story, but it gives him a chance at redemption from his past that happens off script. He still gets that in the original, but it feels like he actually goes through the motions more than he does in the original, which is very important for him, and it feels like he earns it. And also, okay, so the one of the Gigantes in the original does have armor, but you actually get to blow it off with dynamite in this one, so that feels great. And there's a lot more room to run around this arena, so this all just is great.
I have a question for you. So in the remake, did you ever manage to like get one of them to fall into the lava pit? Because I know in the original you can do that, but this time I was pulling the lever like when they were right on top of it, and it just like wouldn't open. I don't know what I was doing wrong.
I was watching a video this time to prepare, and what I saw somebody do is on the second one is they killed one of them, then they blew the armor off the second one, and while that one was stunned, then they pulled the lever on it.
Oh, maybe you have to stun it first. Yeah, because in the original one you just have to time it so that they're standing over the...
Yeah, it's super easy. And then if you want the treasure, you leave the room and you come back and the treasure's there. So you don't actually have to lose the treasure by dumping him in the lava. It's free treasure.
Free treasure.
All right, then you get a cart ride. So this is an allusion to Indiana Jones.
This part in VR rules. It's awesome. It's because you just get unlimited handgun ammo, and it's like a roller coaster, and you're in VR, and it's just like it's just a shooting gallery. It was so much fun. In VR, this is probably the most fun that I've had in this game so far. It was so fun.
Yeah, it's a little challenging in the game because it's hard to turn quickly. In VR, it's a straight up arcade.
You just pop, 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 pop. Yeah.
The redesign is fantastic because in the original, the cards are attached to you, and so you're constantly doing 180s to take out chainsaw people and whatever. And you're doing quick time events to avoid boards, and you don't have unlimited ammo. So it's just not that fun compared to this. You're in your own cart, you're with Luis, you have unlimited ammo, and there's all these levels and so much chaos going on, and there's just so many different reversals in this cart, and there's two different acts to it, two different cart chases. It just they went all out.
It's just a good time.
Balls
it's just a good time. Yeah.
All right. So now you get to the Novice nest, and you get to go around this huge winding section, so that you get to take in their grandeur, and you get this was in the original, but they cleaned it up a little bit so it's not as campy and weird to have to like turn on these lights, these light stones, which was a little cheesy, to be able to melt a gate.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
They also, like, the Novice, like, you run into them in the sewer and they can camouflage. They kind of stop doing that, like, by the time you get to this section underground. They stop camouflaging.
I hadn't noticed, but maybe, yeah. I mean...
Yeah, I didn't notice either.
I wasn't specifically paying attention to that, though, so I don't know.
All right. Luis says he used to work for Los Iluminados at this point, and right after you get through this section with the Novicidores, it feels like maybe you're coming around on Luis, and he reveals everything, and then he gets stabbed by Krauser to recover a sample that he had on him that you didn't know
Freaking
about.
Krauser.
And Krauser calls him a rat. And so they used to work together with Los Iluminados, at least.
Krauser. It's the worst.
Yeah, so this Krauser section, this knife fight, in the original, it was on the island. So they pulled this into the second act instead.
Yeah. Well, and in the original, I think they were trying to pace things out because in the original, you fight that weird monster underground, and that was the least enjoyable part of that game.
Which monster?
So the weird, it's like the one that you can't kill until it's very scripted, and you're going through that little underground maze thing with like all the doors that are locked, and it's like it looks kind of like a weird messed up centaur.
Are you talking about the U3? Isn't that in the DLC with Ada or something? No, wait. What am I thinking of?
Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. But I like what I was saying is I like the placement of this Krauser fight here. I think it helps with the pacing because it's a good place to put it. And I also like that they had Krauser be the one that kills Luis so that you hate Krauser even more. Because in the original game, they imply a history between Leon and Krauser. But if you have played the previous games, you know that history. And if you hadn't, like me, you don't really have any built up negative feelings towards Krauser. You just understand that him and Leon have a past and he's being a douche right now. So,
it just comes out of nowhere in the third act.
He just comes out of nowhere. And so I like that they put him here in this one because they give him a moment where he gets to kill someone that you care about. And so even if you don't have an understanding of Leon and Krauser's past, you're like, this guy, I hate this guy. Like, super motivated to kill him. So I think it was a good move.
Right. Also, story-wise, it's clear they had somebody who knows how to write come in and clean up the script. Because as I had explained to you, it was probably off the pod, but I was explaining to you the concept of a half-man. And Luis is a half-man in that he understands the mechanics of the Las Plagas and is trying to help Leon understand how it works and how to suppress it. And he has a redemption arc that he's trying to get through. And once he has explained it and he's gone through his arc, he dies. And the half-man traditionally in a story dies at the midpoint. In the original, he dies randomly right before Ashley the Ashley section, and that's not the midpoint story-wise. This is the midpoint right before the third act, and so we have to have a false downbeat. You know, at the midpoint, you either have a false down or a false up, and then leading to the climax. If you have a false down, it's all build up to the climax. If you have a false down, or if you have a false up, then it's down to the climax. So this is a false down, and so the island is punching up till you get to Sadler. And so that is the effect of moving script-wise the half-man, which is Luis, to this midpoint and killing him. This is one of your lowest moments, and then after this, script-wise, the bad guys close in, and you're punching up to Sadler. So, pacing-wise, this is the perfect way to tell the story.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. It helps it kind of flow better. I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just me being a pretentious prick, as I do with story.
What?
As you do.
As I do. But I like learning how story works, and it's just the mechanics of storytelling, and this is brilliant. They clearly got somebody in there who knows how to do stuff. Yeah, and it's like you couldn't explain it, but when you're playing the remake, you're like, this feels effective. I don't know why, but it feels like the right way to do it.
Yeah,
and now you know why.
Now you know. There it is.
Yeah. All right. So, so Krauser taught him the knife play. We learn that in the intro sequence. We see them fighting with knives while Leon is doing a voiceover, foreshadowing of what, of their history. He says that he's the one that kidnapped Ashley. Krauser is working for Los Illuminados on his own free will. He hates what happened to them 2 years ago in Operation Javier. So we're finally getting backstory that we didn't get in the original game. The whole unit was wiped out, and it was allowed by the government, and so he decides he wants that same kind of power for himself, and probably wants to, take down the government, if you will, or just kind of go I don't know, anarchist or whatever.
Just being a real butthead. Yeah, I like the extra context they give for Krauser because, like you said, in the original game, he just kind of comes in swinging and he's like, "I'm the worst," but he doesn't really explain why, or like he's just kind of being a douche for what seems like no reason.
See, and this is why Krauser is a more interesting foil to Leon, because they both have the same history and they both went in completely opposite directions, and it allows Leon the opportunity to explain himself and why he didn't choose the same path, and he chooses to explain that not everything is simple, and he explains himself, and he chose to stay with the government anyway, and that explains his morality, his moral compass, and what he chooses to believe in. And he believes in moral, that moral gray area, but he still believes to fight for the utilitarian good. So that's interesting. It's more interesting than Ada.
Ada, who, let's see, what do we even know about her? In one of the previous
she likes
Resident
to wear
Evil
red
games?
dresses in impractical situations. Yeah.
No, wasn't she married to one of the scientists in one of the other games? She was.
Married to them? I don't remember
Yeah.
that.
No, are you
I
talking
remember
about
her and Leon like having a thing.
Are you conflating like William Birkin with like his wife?
What are you
and you're
thinking
computing his wife with Ada?
No, I thought Ada was the password to one of the computers in the other game where you play as Leon. I always mix up if it's this. I think it's the second one, but yeah, I think
is Leon. Yeah,
I thought she was married to one of the scientists because he's like, "Oh, my wife," and something about her.
My wife.
Her name is like the password to my computer, and that's how you're able to find it. And it's just ADA, and then
I don't know.
I swear
you can look into it. It could be a reference to Ada Lovelace.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't know what Ada Lovelace is.
It's been a minute since I played the Resident Evil 2 remake. It's been a couple years, and I wasn't paying attention to the story. I was just killing zombies, being scared of Mr. X.
So I love in this knife fight that you still get the quick time reactions, but you don't get the quick time fight from the original, where you just have like 15 quick time events.
The whole fight is just a series of quick time events. Yeah, in the original.
It is brutal. I
and
think
it's very unforgiving. You miss at all, and you're just dead. Try again. Like
there might be a midpoint that you can come back. I can't remember.
I think there is a checkpoint, but it's
there's one
not
or
a very
two.
forgiving. Yeah,
like when you do like a bunch of somersaults down to the ground. I know that's like a checkpoint
because Leon's a badass.
Yeah. But I love this approach to quick time actions in that they're optional, and it's just like, oh, if I hit this button contextually, then I can block an attack. That's cool. That's fine. And it preserves the legacy without being ham-fisted.
It updates the original concept. Yeah, for sure.
All right, so Luis shoots him at the end in a reversal of this choreographed section, so it gives him a chance at inserting himself into this part, and and then Krauser decides to just bounce for some reason, and
he goes, "All right, bye." Yeah.
Yeah, and Luis gets a return to how he introduced himself, in that he asked for a smoke when they met, and then he gets his last smoke now that he's checking out. And this is where Luis he dies wondering if people can change. Now, this game isn't really full of anything profound, and that's not really a profound concept, and we see that in a lot of story, but it's one of the only touching things that comes out of this game. Is Luis is not a super deep character, but he has earned this line to die having earned a redemption. And he has a dark past. He's fought for the bad guys. He's done a lot of shady things selfishly to earn money or whatever he's done it for. And now he's fought for Leon and Ashley. He's thought you know what, I don't actually believe that this is going to redeem me, but I am doing it because it's the right thing. So even if I don't get redeemed, I'm doing it because I need to do it because it's the right thing. And because he's doing it altruistically, he unironically becomes redeemed. And that is why he has changed.
Yes, love that. I'm going to backtrack for 2 seconds. I finally did find an answer. It is in Resident Evil 2, and there is a scientist named John. And when you read the letters, or it's like a picture letter or something, I didn't get that far. But that's how you find out that the password is his girlfriend, not wife. Girlfriend, Ada.
His girlfriend.
Close. Anyway, so the username is John and the password is Ada. And I don't know, that just stuck out to me. But she was just trying to infiltrate the lab, and he thought that was his actual girlfriend. Okay, go on.
Okay, so she was using him like she uses everyone.
Yeah, for some reason I thought that they were married. Either way, I think there was he wrote about how much he was in love with her.
Birkin then. Yeah.
Maybe.
Because the reason that I was confused is because I didn't realize there was another scientist that was in this story, because Birkin is the scientist that has a wife, and he's definitely not married to Ada.
Well, I did see something about a picture. I don't know, you can kind of see it. There's a picture of him with Ada that you can pick up.
Okay.
Anyways, not important, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, after this, you head to Ramon's clock tower. They combined the elevator ascent area from the original with the Salazar statue area. And it kind of makes sense to put it in his clock tower. It's very campy in the original, and it kind of makes it slightly better in this one.
I understood why they got rid of the giant walking Ramon Salazar statue from the original, but damn it if I don't miss it. Like, it was so stupid and so hilarious.
It's the campiest thing from the original.
It's the campiest thing that has ever happened in any media, and I loved every second of it. I do like, though, that they have like those heads that spin around, like the big statues where their heads spin around and they shoot fire, and I was like, I guess that's close enough. But I miss the giant, like the running away from the giant walking statue. It's so stupid.
And he spits fire?
Yeah.
This one does,
well, no.
Yeah.
And in the remake, they have those big statues where like their heads turn around and they're Ramon Salazar, and they spew fire out. But in the original, this giant like statue runs after you on a crumbling bridge, and you have to tap buttons. It's a quick time event to run away from him, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, I didn't know that because I haven't played the original. That's so cheesy.
It's like so cheesy, and I miss it.
And like you're like jumping around on its hands as it's like going up, coming together, doing this. It's
it feels like a Zelda dungeon puzzle.
Oh.
Yeah, so like Ramon took the time and effort and money to build this thing with his vast
instead of stairs.
wealth.
Yeah.
Well, when you've already built this big ass castle on this island, what else is there? You know, you got to get real weird with it.
I could build stairs, or I could build a mechanical version of myself with hands that go up and down when you find the right combination of levers across 3 floors. And he's like, that one, we'll do that one.
He's got enemies. He knows he needs it.
I need to know, like, they could have put anywhere in the original or the remake just one note that explains what his intentions were. Because, you know, technically they were just using the clock tower in the remake as a location to build it, but he was still clearly going to take it out of the clock tower at some point and put it somewhere else.
It's a vanity project.
In the garden.
That was an unsanctioned Ramon activity. The Sadler didn't know about that. Ramon's just making cool statues of himself that are also robots.
The vanity project. It's so embarrassing. But this one felt more practical. It was going to shoot fire. It was probably he's going to add lasers at some point.
Of course, yeah.
It's just going to be iteration after iteration.
Yeah, this was the Mach 1, the one that stands still and spits fire. The Mach 2 is the one that runs after you on the bridge.
Well, we don't know. This one could have maybe moved at some point. We just didn't get to see that iteration of it because it didn't get to break free of the clock tower. and it didn't get to see it chase someone across the bridge. It's so stupid. Yeah.
The best kind of stupid.
Yeah, and they replaced the barrels with spike balls. That makes a lot more sense. On the elevator, as you're ascending, you have to spot the red robes because they're paralyzing you, so that adds a lot more tension and stakes. This was a lot better designed in the remake. In the original, they're just constantly jumping down in 2s and 3s, and you have to shoot them because they're just stopping the elevator every 5 seconds because it's over its weight capacity.
Yeah.
What do you not understand? We are at capacity.
We'll always be at capacity for us.
Exactly.
Yeah. You see off in the distance, Krauser. Wait, no. Let's see. Then you run down. You get to the building that has Ramon and Ashley and Krauser. Ramon allows Krauser to walk off with Ashley, and Ramon starts pontificating about how uncivilized you are, and you say this nonsense, and you shoot him, and he falls off the platform, and he transforms into
a giant booger monster.
Yeah, into some of the most grotesque body horror that we've seen in the game so far.
No, I was just going to say, in the original, he's like part of the wall. He's like, it's just this whole room gets deformed and he's like stuck to this giant grotesque growth on the wall. And you just kind of have to time it right and shoot inside of the little pod that opens and closes. And then in the remake, when I played through this game for the first time, the remake, I hated this part. I genuinely I really struggled with it. Shan can attest. I was texting him like a crazy person. Like, how do you kill this guy? I can't do it. What is wrong with me?
Well, my brother texted me and said the same thing. And then I remember I died like once or twice as well. I think everybody has the exact same issue with this. I think it's very well designed as far as like the level, having all of these stairs. It's very, I love the dimensionality to it. I love the set design to it, like all the tendrils, all of the lighting, the goriness to it, the fleshiness. That is all beautiful. I love the goopiness, the inkiness. I love how mobile he is. That adds you're looking in every direction, whereas in the original it's just very static in and out of the wall. And so this adds a lot of creepiness to a lot of tension to just like not knowing at any point where in your peripheral he is. The only thing that sucks about the remake is that he shoots way too much acid at you, and so you just lose all of your health way too quickly. It's not balanced.
Yeah, I was going to say, my biggest issues with that were threefold. The acid is a little too frequent. And I felt like he had this one move that was an insta-kill, which would be so frustrating to like whittle him down to be almost dead and then insta-kill when I've got full health. That drove me nuts. And then I loved the mobile, like how mobile he was and moving around, but it would have helped me out a lot if when he was moving around, if he would stay in his like move around and then stay at his location for like 1 second longer. Cause that was my biggest issue is like, I'd find where he was, I'd get my gun and I'd draw a bead on him and then he'd move. It was like timed exactly to where I just couldn't quite hit him fast enough. And I know that's a skill issue on my part, but it made this boss insufferable. I couldn't stand him playing in the original, or not in the original, the first time I played through this. And so this time I came prepared. If you have a rocket launcher, you can come with a golden egg and you can throw a golden egg at Ramon and it will just kill him. And so, but then I thought that the golden egg, you found it later and I missed it. I was going to get the golden egg and because I was like, I'm not going to fight this SOB again. I hate this guy. And so I was going to get the egg, but I missed it. So I was like, shoot. And then I realized that you can just buy a rocket launcher and you just shoot him one time and he dies. and so going into the boss fight, I like fought him for a minute, and then as soon as I was like, all right, I'm done with this, I just shot him in the face and he died. It was great. I love that they've got this really tough, super intense boss battle, but then it's like, but also if you don't want to deal with it and this is your second playthrough, you can just buy a rocket launcher from the merchant who's literally right outside the boss room, and then you can go shoot him in the face with a rocket launcher. So that's what I did this time, because screw that guy.
Yeah, this is the least balanced boss fight out of this game, and probably out of any of the remake Resident Evils. It just feels uncomfortable to play, but all of the elements are there. It's just, it could have used a little more balance in the AI of Ramon himself.
It was
Otherwise,
just,
it's perfect.
Yeah, I agree. All of the elements for there, it just needed a little bit of tweaking to make it just a tad more manageable. And then it would have felt, because nothing is more fulfilling than like having a difficult boss battle, but one that like you can manage. And it's just like, you just need to figure it out and have it click with you. But this one felt like it was a difficult boss battle, and it was just barely outside of the level that I was comfortable managing. And so when I beat him, it didn't feel rewarding. It felt like, thank heavens that's over. Like, that's the difference between a really well-designed, difficult boss battle and one that's not quite as balanced as it should be.
Yeah. Also, it felt... I don't exactly know why they chose to put an Easter egg in there where you can literally kill him with an egg.
Yeah. Maybe he's allergic.
Yeah. In this one, it felt true to his character that he'd be so grossed out by an egg that he'd just choose to suicide himself.
Yeah. You threw an egg at me, now I'm dead. Yeah.
Oh.
So
There's no
gross.
point in living anymore.
So gross. You didn't even cook it?
Was this raw?
That's how I am if there's like even a tiny bit of shell in my egg. Like I will start dry heaving and throw up.
I have never remembered to get and keep the golden egg, so I've never actually got that satisfying.
Really? Out of all the many times you've played this game?
Yeah.
You just have
I'm a rocket launcher guy. It's easier to, it's right, the shop is right outside of the boss room. You just buy the rocket launcher and then you walk in there and the best part about VR is you can one hand the rocket launcher. So you can just, can cock your hand to the side and gangster style blast him in the face with a rocket. It's the best.
Yeah. It felt like his actual character design was the most traditional character design from like a Resident Evil 2 or 3 type monster, like a William Birkin. If it had like sort of the muscly exposed muscle extruding thing mixed with a plaga, like it was somewhere in between.
No, I really like his character design and the actual boss design of... I love Ramon Salazar. Throughout the game, I think he's such a fun little villain. And he's got a really cool boss battle that just sits on the wrong side of hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I know that one of the MacGuffins is the sample that Luis has that Krauser's trying to get back. I don't remember exactly how the story ends up, such that like they're trying to get the G virus back. Now, have they already mixed it with the Plaga sample?
I don't think so, but I also don't remember specifically. Okay. So yeah,
because I couldn't remember. Maybe at this point Salazar could have a mutated version of the Plaga that others maybe wouldn't have. I don't know.
For me, it's just maybe it's just so advanced. He's been infected for so long, and now he's letting it out.
All right, so yeah, then he drops the lip rouge. We've already talked about that, and then you go down to the water. Krauser escapes on a boat, and you follow with Ada and Leon. Okay, so then we get a cutscene. Leon thinks that he's changed from Raccoon City. Wonders if Ada has as well, and but thinks that maybe she's using him again, and he's very bitter about this, by the way. And this you could feel like he keeps. I hadn't realized he's hitting on this a lot. And I think they did better about writing this with Luis as well. It's like he keeps hitting on like, you worked for Umbrella, have you really changed? And now it's like, Ada, you used me in the past, have you really changed? So I realized that, you know what, this game, it's barely like, it's not that deep, but the theme is, can a person change? And it's surface level, but Luis is the one that makes the point the hardest, and I don't know that you're supposed to take any lessons from it. They don't really resolve that lesson, but I'd say the answer is yes, because Luis changes.
I mean, not everything it has to be deep, complex, narrative-driven stuff. Sometimes it's a fun popcorn thing, and they throw in some elements of character growth and just little bits here and there. And that's kind of the vibe that I get from Resident Evil 4, is that there are some slightly, maybe you could call them deeper themes that they're trying to get through, but they're still pretty surface level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she won't even admit if she's using him or not. I don't know why she has to be so obtuse about it. And yeah. And then she takes off with her grapple hook, and he's on the island. What do you prefer out of the 3 acts? What is the section you look forward to the most?
I'm always a big fan of the intro part. I think that just the village and that area is so iconic that's one of the most fun to play through for me. I remember in the original game, the island always got really tough, particularly with the regenerator enemies. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk more about that next time. I'd say the island is probably the part that I don't want to say that I look forward to the least, because there's some really good stuff here, but it's the one that I have the hardest time with. And I played a little bit ahead. I played in VR. I have had less difficulties with some of the things that normally gave me a lot of difficulty, and we'll talk about that next time. But I'd say probably the first act. I like the village area and just the setup for that, and ending with the fight in the farmhouse with the big cheese is great.
The 3 acts, it goes light, dark, darkest, and I love the puzzles that are in the castle, but the horror of the 3rd act is top notch, and especially around the regenerators. So as far as atmosphere and enemies, I look forward to the 3rd act the most. It feels the most traditional in pace and in everything to a traditional Resident Evil game. So that's where I need to be to feel at home in the story.
I don't know what I like the most, but like which act. But I would say the 3 parts that stand out the most is the very first sequence of the game in the village. When you play as Ashley with the knights and you're just running around. And then when you're playing as Leon and you're doing the regenerators. I hate that part so much. But each act, like there's so much that's going on in the game all throughout, but those 3 things really stood out the most. So it's 1 per act.
Well, that's going to do it for us today. Please like, comment, subscribe. You can find us wherever you find podcasts. Please also watch Eric's Indie Corners on Thursdays. Bye, everybody. Do it!
Bye!
Bye!
Outro. Bleep-a-doof, bleep-a-deep, bloop-a-dee-blow.